Oh, thank you, Tim. I'm happy to donate. My girlfriend actually wanted to go out to dinner tonight, and I told her, you know what, forget it. My money on Friday nights goes to the show, but now, so we're going out to dinner tomorrow night, and she's fully supportive. So, I mean, you guys do a great job, and I'm happy to support you. And I just have two really brief comments. The first one is, against LSU, how do you think we should attack them offensively? I don't really want to get into a shootout with LSU. So I want to win in the trenches and see if we can establish a running game. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on how we could best attack them offensively. And the second comment I have is, Matt, last week, I believe you said that it would be a disappointment if we didn't go 9-3. My feeling is that if we go 8-4, given the transition to the Big Ten and given our schedule, that's going to be progress. So I'm wondering why you think that might not be acceptable.
All right, Matt, why don't you start it off? Hit both of those, and I'll throw in my 2 cents about the offense. By the way, I think one of the better performing videos on our channel right now is this exact topic about attacking the offense. And the LSU guys were more than merciless. I was wondering, where are the Trojan fans in our comment section? I was hoping someone would jump in there. But Matt, what are your thoughts on those ideas?
Yeah, well, first, Adam, I think, the more I look at the Big Ten and the more I'm seeing from, the preseason camps, like the Vegas spread on the USC Michigan game, for instance, has gone down, not up. Like there's more of a sense that Michigan is a question mark this season, at least, more than like in June, like as we go along through the summer. Now, I still think USC is going to lose to Michigan, but I do think that, after Oregon and Ohio State, and of course, USC doesn't play those two teams, I think that there's more of a growing sense that the teams 3 through 8 or 9 in the Big Ten, it's going to be a one big jumble. It's going to be parity. And so the more I think about, the upper half of the Big Ten, of course, half of the Big Ten is now 9 teams instead of 7. But the more I think about the top half of the Big Ten, the more I think, USC should be better than most of those guys. And that should translate into a 9-3 record. I think that LSU, Notre Dame get one of them. And then that means if USC goes 7-2, this season could be great, but at the very least, go 6-3, in those middle games. So, that would lead to 9-3, right? Because you're also getting the win over Utah State. So, the more I look at the schedule, the more I think that, Michigan's a probable loss. Notre Dame is a probable loss. But then the third loss, where's that going to come from? And Penn State would probably be the logical choice. But then, Washington lost a lot of personnel. Like that would be, if USC is going to go 8-4, it's probably going to be Michigan, Notre Dame, because I like USC against LSU. Michigan, Notre Dame, Penn State, and then Washington, the game in Seattle in November. But the more I think about Washington, the more I think about all the challenges facing Jed Fish, who, did a really good job at Arizona, but he did need time there, right? He did need time to bring that roster together, and he didn't get Fafita. He didn't get McMillan. He didn't get some of the really big fish from Tucson. They're staying with Brent Brennan. So, I felt that in the offseason, like in June and in May, USC might not have measured up very well against the whole of the Big Ten quite as well as I think now, because we're getting to see in camp, the coaches saying positive things about the defense, about guys on the front line, like Gavin Meyer, for instance. If Gavin Meyer and Kobe Pepe and other guys that the coaching staff is really raving about, if they live up to what the coaches are saying, that kind of nudges me from 8-4 to 9-3 in terms of what USC really needs to achieve. And here's the other thing, Adam. We have coaches who I think merit a lot more respect and trust than Alex Grinch and Dante Williams. So to hear last year's coaching staff say things about players, it doesn't resonate the same way it does with this year's players. So that's why I think if 8-4 was maybe my baseline in February, March, in the spring, what I've seen in camp and also what I see elsewhere in the Big Ten has made me nudge it up to 9-3. Now, as for the LSU game, Adam, I've said this on occasion, but now that we're getting really close to the LSU game, just 2 weeks away, I'm going to say it one more time. I know we want to run the ball, and I know we need to run the ball. And certainly in second halves when needing to protect the lead, to kill the clock, to keep the defense fresh and rested and off the field, like getting 35 minutes time of possession is going to be very important against Penn State. Yeah. It's going to be very important against Wisconsin. It's going to be very important against Notre Dame. But in this matchup, this game against LSU's secondary was absolute Swiss cheese last year. And I think if you're Lincoln Riley, you're not only trying to win, but you also want to get Miller Moss established. And you want to give Miller Moss every chance to be the dude, the guy, the leader. And I think that the LSU matchup specifically warrants a more pass-happy approach. Go at that LSU secondary, force that unproven secondary to make plays. And like, if it works, you not only get the benefit of having a lead, like a 14-0, 14-3 lead, in which, then USC's pass rush can just get after Garrett Nussmeier. And you also have a secondary that seems to be really good. Like that secondary with a lead can then play center field and can, shut off the deep ball against LSU's receivers. You not only get all of that, but you get a confident Miller Moss heading into that Michigan game, heading into Big Ten play. I think that, in the heart of the Big Ten season, when we get into mid and late October and early November, and that November 2 game in Seattle at Husky Stadium, yes, USC is going to have to mash and grind and pound. And you're going to run the ball between the tackles, student body right, old-time USC football religion. But I think in the LSU game, it's more about let's try and throw the ball deep. Let's test LSU at its weakest point. Let's try and get a lead so that the defense doesn't have to worry about defending the run. I think that's the way to play this first game against LSU.
And I think that you're right. I mean, the one thing I've talked about a couple of times, and I'll just hit on it really quickly again. It's going to be interesting to see how the LSU defense can play with our passing attack. I think that's where the question marks are. There's some questions on the outside. We heard it, on this show, and I've read it, and you see it all around. So I want to see anybody. I mean, anybody. We're talking about, we're going to play some good defenses, but I want to see people that can go, four across the board with our receivers and I'm not even getting into our tight end room again. And we'll talk about that later. If someone wants to talk about it. I wrote an article about Doug Belk, how he's just secret, I call it silently, but it's not really silent. I mean, he's just crushing it. He's stacking recruiting wins, but also look at what, Zach Hansen has done in the tight end room. I mean, slowly, just every couple of years, picking up a couple of guys. And I'm wondering, and Gabe's really excited about Joey Olsen and just how he's going to factor into the receiving game. We'll talk about the tight ends in a little bit, because I do want to hit that, Matt, a little later. But sticking to your point, we're going to know how good these teams we're playing are as far as the overall record is going to be, because we play LSU right away. We know that Notre Dame is going to play A&M, right? Nice and early. Notre Dame just lost their left tackle, and after having to replace Joe Alt. And so now they're having an issue on their offensive line. So, I mean, they are a great team. They got a solid defense. USC's offense saw that last year. We're going to see how good a lot of these teams are. We're going to see how good Michigan is. They got to play Texas early. So, I mean, it's really great. We're not going to have a bunch of cream puff games like USC had last year. We're going to know how good USC is right away. We're going to know how good Notre Dame is right away. We're going to know how good Michigan is right away. And so that's what I'm excited about. Yeah. Good job. Yeah, I'm with Matt on most of it. Again, Matt's usually a little more on the conservative side. I'm a little more on the getting really excited.
Hey, Tim, I'm never going to forgive you for being such a bootlicker.
And so, but I mean, I am fully invested. After last week, I went totally psycho, Tim. I've gone completely optimistic, because you know what? To me, there's so many unknowns. Why am I'm not going to try to be the objective, super objective person saying that, well, last year, how much of this we could make. I see Matt coming around a bit. He's saying that it's a possibility of having that top 40, top 35 defense. And we know what's going to happen if USC has a solid defense. Any other thoughts, Adam?
Yeah, my last thought is just that I hope that this year, my hope is that we establish physicality because when we go to Ann Arbor, Michigan's going to try to run us over. And I would like to hope that we're going to be competitive physically in the trenches against good teams. And I think it's going to be an exciting season. I can't wait for it to start. Thanks, guys, for an awesome show. Great talking to you, as always. Fight on.
Thank you. Fight on, Adam.
College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.